Hello, I am back. This is gonna be a quick message for real because I got to go pick up my baby. This is going to be a quick message for real. Um, I wanted to come back and talk about you're sensitive in your spirit, right? When your spirit is very sensitive, um, my little back brace in the car. When when your spirit is very sensitive, you got to be careful what you let into your spirit. You got to be careful what you listen to, what you watch, who you allow to talk to you, who you talk to. Because when your spirit is sensitive, you tend to pick up on other people's emotions and burdens. And if you're not careful, when people are venting to you, when they're telling you, that's why some of you all are heavy. A lot of you all are heavy because you don't know that you're very sensitive in your spirit. Because you're and this is why I don't watch the news. One of the reasons I don't watch the news is because people live and eat and breathe that garbage. I don't listen to it because when I get through, it doesn't edify my spirit. It doesn't make me feel no better than I felt before I watched it, right? It doesn't do anything for me. But burdened with all the negativity. I remember one time I saw on the news, this is when I knew I had to stop watching the news. There was this little girl on the news. But long story short, her mom, my daughters was around that same age, and her mom was an addict, and she gave her daughter up to the provider. Let me just say that. I'm trying to be careful with my words here on YouTube. Gave her daughter, little 4-year-old daughter, her 4-year-old daughter up to the provider who provided her addiction substances, right? And, unalive that baby. And I grieved that little girl like it was my own child. I grieved that little girl for weeks. And I didn't understand why, right? I didn't understand why. And I grieved that little girl for weeks and weeks. And, it just weighed on me like that was my own child. And I had to learn then I have to be careful what I put into my spirit. Because sometimes people, and you feel like you are responsible for, making things better, right? And I'm not saying this about that little girl. I just grieved for her because that little girl was just taken out for no reason. Like, it was just the evil, right? Just the evil and wickedness, right? And that really weighed on me for a while. But what I learned from that is I got to be careful what I watch. So that's why I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. I watch movies here and there, but just to sit down and watch the news, CNN, MSNBC, I have to be careful with the Weather Channel, okay? But I stay informed by reading things, right? But when you're sensitive, you have to be careful as to who you talk to, because some people when you're communicating with different people, they're releasing into you, right? And you are releasing into them. And most likely, if you're a person who's sensitive in the spirit, your energy is very positive. You have very good energy. People want to be around you. They like talking to you, right? Because when they talk to you, they feel better. They feel better by talking to you. People have told you that. I like talking to you. I like your energy. They have told you that because it's true. And that's what people want from you. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful because if you're not careful, see, before I knew I was very sensitive in my spirit, I tend to take on people's complaints and worries as if it were mine. And I didn't understand. I was young. And I wonder why people can, have you ever been on a job or been somewhere and people are complaining to you about something? It doesn't have anything to do with you, but because people are complaining about it so much to you, you feel like you have to speak up about it. It has nothing to do with you. You're not worried. You're not complaining about what they're complaining about. But because they're complaining to you so much, you feel obligated to do something. And sometimes people will do that because them spirits know that you are that type of person. You are the type of person that will speak up. Sometimes people use your voice for themselves. They will use your voice to advocate and do things for them. They will use you to speak up for them because they are too weak to speak up, or they don't have the strength. They won't use your voice. You don't have an issue. You're not complaining about that, but they'll use you because you're not afraid to speak up. You're not afraid to, stand up. And you feel like you're obligated. Yeah, you feel like you're obligated. You so much about something. They complain and complain and complain. And before I knew what it is that I carried, before I knew I was like I am, right? Before I knew I was me, like my coach would say, like my coach Latoya O'Keefe would say, before I knew I was me, I carried a lot of people's burdens, and I spoke up for stuff and for people that I shouldn't have been speaking up for. That's their problem. They need to speak up for that. But once I learned that, I'm very sensitive, I'm very careful now. When people complain to me, or when people venting, I know I got a wall up. I don't let it get into my spirit. I got a limit. Okay, I have a limit, and I have a wall up to know I can't carry this. Hey, Michelle, to know I can't carry this. This is not my burden. My good friend, my good friend, my kingdom friend. God bless me with this friend. My kingdom friend taught me that we can't interrupt people's process. We can't interrupt people's process. We want to save them. We want to intervene and interrupt their process, because we can feel their grief. We can feel their pain. We can feel their burden. And we want to get in and help. And we can't do that. My good friend taught me. She was right. Because somebody to lean on. When God don't be wanting you to lean on nobody, he will work in you. He's trying to do a work in you, not lean on somebody. No, he wants you to lean on him. Lean into him, trust him, and not make people our God. But for the ones who are sensitive in their spirit, we become God in people's lives. We become people's crutches. We are a crutch to people, and we have to stop being a crutch to people. I had to learn that regardless of what people say, you can't always be a crutch. You got to let people go through their process. Whatever decision they make, they got to go through the consequence of their decision. And I learned I couldn't be there to catch folks all the time. We got to let people go through their process so they can learn the lessons. How are you going to learn? We didn't learn by someone always being there to catch us. Everything I've learned is from experience. I learned lessons. That's why healing and knowing who you are is so important. And I preach this because it's important, because we can make better decisions when we are healed. You won't feel guilty, because some of you all are so sensitive, you feel guilty to watch people suffer. You feel guilty because you can't be God in their life. You feel guilty. Yes, you're supposed to help people. Yes, you're supposed to be there. But you have to know you have to know that there's a limit. There's a limit to everything. There is a limit. The limit. You can't always be there to catch people. You can't always be there to, step in the gap for people. Sometimes the best thing to do is pray and step back, because they got to learn the process. They got to go through the process. I had to do one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. One of the hardest things I ever had to do. But I had to do it. I had to do it. Because God showed me there was a process. There was something that person had to learn. But because I'm there in the way, they can't learn it. So that's what I want to come talk to you all about. So you all be blessed.